Hey everybody,
Hi, everyone.
it's May. We are here to welcome you to May, and our topic this month is elderhood,
Elderhood.
and in particular inner elderhood, but I'll say more about that in a minute. Yeah, we are, when we first put together the full Ecology book, we were referring, or kind of putting legs on Gary's bigger book, called 8 Master Lessons of Nature. And one of those 8 master lessons was elderhood, right?
Yeah, before that book and the research that went into it, I didn't realize elderhood is a big thing in mammalian world. I mean, whether we're talking about elephants and the role that the elder matriarchs play, not just in memory as far as where water is during a time of drought, but also in sort of brokering peace between younger elephants that may not get along, and on and on and on. Same with orcas, postmenopausal orca females especially, meerkats, wolves. In I've said this before, but in mammals of roughly the same size between male and female, it's usually the female that calls the shots, and as those females get older, they tend to be in sort of a wise elder role, and it's really a big deal. So little wonder that traditions here in the human world have long honored elderhood as a chance to become something generative, something really essential to the community.
And in human society, we're all aware, or most of us are, that there's one remaining, maybe more than one, but this is one of the remaining undiscussed systems of oppression, and that is ageism. And we know that one of the things about oppressive systems is the reason they work so well is because before too long you don't need the oppressor around to do it to you, because you're doing it to yourself. And that's certainly the way it is with ageism. We know from lots and lots of research that as early as 3 years old, children have negative attitudes about age, about older people. And so I wanted to tell you about this research that Becca Levy has done over quite a few decades. She's at Harvard. She's done a lot of research. She's worth checking out if you're curious about this stuff. She's done a research, she's started a project in a small town in Ohio where she interviewed people about their attitudes about age. And she kept those data, and 23 years later went back and found as many of the same people as she could, and came to find out from analyzing the data that once this is replicated, which it will be, it is more dangerous to a human being in terms of longevity to have a bad attitude about aging than to smoke, than predictions from gender, than predictions from socioeconomics, than predictions from exercise. That 7.5 years less lifespan among people who have negative attitudes about aging.
Wow, let's embrace elderhood immediately.
Yeah. Well, it's it's an option. There's the problem is that we are afraid of aging.
Yeah.
And we're really afraid of death and don't want to talk about it. And of course it varies from culture to culture, the attitudes towards older people and aging.
Yeah.
But what we found from the data is that you can change those attitudes, and you know how you do it?
No.
By bringing younger people together with older people.
Oh, sure.
And it dispels the myth.
Sure.
And so that's where the inner elder comes in. But I want to see if you're thinking of anything else.
Well, really, it's in the human world again. You introduced me to this notion about certain parts of the brain. Mary has told me about how traditionally we thought that brains hardened basically by the time you were 30 or whatever.
40
But
for
now we
sure.
know there's a neuroplasticity that allows for all kinds of development and rearrangement and new neuronal pathways as we age. And some of those things don't really come on. For instance, the kind of perspective that's often associated with generativity has to do with to some degree, it seems like the prefrontal cortex coming into a different relationship with other parts of the brain, and that only happens when we get to a certain age. So in some ways, we're hardwired biologically to open up to the capacities that our older years really are offering to us, and that's exciting.
Yeah, there is like these prefrontal orbital cortices up here that get much more active once you get into your late 60s and early 70s. And they are associated with what, if you've been around elders much, can be a characteristic, especially of true elders, and that is just not to get fussed as quickly, to kind of wait and see if it really is something that needs to have a lot of energy and attention and panic. So elders know
That's a
better.
gift. That's
often.
a gift of age. Wow.
Often,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
If you can manage that, don't sweat the small stuff, and ultimately realize it's all small stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So anyway, the inner elder thing, we want to go on and tell you that because of family complications and other unexpected things that have come down the pike for us, we're only going to be doing one retreat this summer, and it will be the 5th through the 9th of July at JBarL. And it's, of course, on our website, www.fullecology.com. And its focus will be on a new focus on the inner elder. But we do bridge it. It comes from Full Ecology. We introduced that idea in the Full Ecology book. And so that's what we're going to be focusing on. But there's going to be a part of it also.
Yeah, we're going to focus on writing for those who are interested in writing, be it for themselves or be it for publication. We're limiting the number of writers who can come to really only 4 or 5, so there'll be lots and lots of one-on-one time, focusing on whatever project you have going, you want some feedback on, you want to problem solve with. So both for the inner elder reasons, which I think is such a gift to a writer, to be more in touch with your intuition as far as what you should focus on, how you should tell your story, combined with the craft of writing. It's going to be pretty powerful and in a powerful place.
And please, and we want you to be clear that the focus is on the inner elder and on full ecology, and up to 4 people who wish, if they are writers and wish to have more work on craft, that's going to be an extra kind of add-on.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. The inner elder. You can hear more about that if you go to every September. Gary and I start a new series, a new season of How It Looks From Here, the podcast. And this year, Gary was talking about the Ponderosa book, and I was talking about inner elderhood. And so you can learn about it there. There's also a page on our website that talks about inner elderhood. Quickly, the inner elder is parallel to the inner child. The inner child we're all kind of familiar with, but nobody really tells us that we have an inner elder, that there is a part of our personality that is available to be a companion and a guide for our whole lives, and that carries a lot of the wisdom that comes forward as our brains mature and as we have more and more experience. But that's what the inner elder is. It's an aspect of personality that we all have, and that gets stronger and stronger over time, and is very related to the natural world. So we brought it into the Full Ecology book, to be a part of the elderhood emphasis, but to also make it clear that all of these superpowers of the natural world are available to us our whole lives, and it's a matter of bringing them forward.
Yeah, it makes me think that comment you made earlier about ageism is probably one reason why there hasn't been earlier exploration or embracing of the notion of inner elderhood, because elderhood, yeah, who wants to talk about elders when in fact, wow, we've often said that the cutting off of respect for the feminine, both through girls and women, as well as archetypically the inner feminine that lives in us all, has been probably the most consequential negative thing that's happened to humanity. And I would say cutting off our relationship with the wisdom of elders is right up there too on that list of bad moves. But now
Yeah.
we have a time to correct them.
And again, other cultures don't do it as severely as we do, although ageism has been shown to show up in every culture. But we in this country and in Western Europe in some ways, but I think this country even more, are some of the worst offenders around that. So it's something it's worth rethinking. And it's worth looking at the natural world at how elderhood is vital to the well-being of all being. Absolutely vital. The grandmother tree.
Yeah.
That, and all the animals you were talking about.
Yeah,
I love the orca bit, by the way.
I know. And young orca males have 8 to 10 times more likelihood of dying within a year after the matriarch, which may be their mother, maybe not, of the pod dies. And that's profound.
Yeah.
That's suggesting that matriarch is doing a lot just to teach as far as how survival happens and a good existence, but also probably again to make sure that the relationships among the different animals are as healthy as they can be within the pod, and that's a relational way to be, and that's both feminine and it's both elder, and it's elder as well, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what we wanted to put down for you. I think it's going to be the 14th of May. That is the second Tuesday, and we will be doing the deep dive at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Time, and you can do the math on the rest of them. As we do every month, and this time we will take a deeper dive into elderhood and inner elderhood. Please do take a look at the retreat on our website and be in touch with us at connect@fullecology.com if you have any questions or thoughts. We really do love hearing from you.
Yeah, have a great spring and be well. Get out in nature every opportunity you have, and we'll do the same.
Yeah, your wisdom is calling you there. Your elder wisdom is calling you there, and it's calling you. So give in.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Bye for now. See you next month.